Hi everybody, Jessie here from jessiebanks.com and welcome back to another video. So today I have something a little bit different for you guys. Instead of painting an image or coloring an image, I'm going to work with some dies. So this is the birthday cake Die-Namics set from MFT Stamps. I'm using Arch's 140-pound cold press watercolor paper and some of my favorite watercolors from Stoneground, which is a local company to me. They're handmade here in Saskatchewan. I will have links to all of the products used again in the description box below, as always. So I'm going to start by die cutting out this stamp or this die here. I am putting the tape on my hand so that it doesn't stick too hard to that watercolor paper. I just want to make sure it doesn't rip the paper in the background because I am going to use this base piece for the card as well. I am using this in conjunction with the MFT sketch for Wednesday, so that one was fun. It's a little rectangle off to the side. I didn't exactly follow it, but I always take inspiration from it and pushed everything over to the one side, and it was really fun to play with and kind of take my own spin on it. That's usually what I like to do with all of these. So once I have these cut out, you can see how I'm going to slowly pull it apart. And I'm not going to show you all of this, but I painstakingly pull all of these little pieces off and either stick them on a piece of blue tape like you're seeing here, or I glue them directly down to my Epicurean board. It took forever, literally, but it was so worth it with the way this card came out. So you can see how everything's either on tape here, or I used Tombow Monomulti to glue it down to the paper. So I am going to run through the colors here as I go. I am using Titanium Gray from Stoneground. I don't know if this is available on the website yet, but it's one of their new colors. And then I am putting some of their yellow. Oh goodness, what yellow is this? Hang on. It's Hansa Yellow, I thought so, but I just wanted to double check, down on the flames. And then I'm adding some of their silver metallic watercolor to this as well. Again, they'll all be down below, but I want to tell you guys what colors I'm using as I go, simply because I didn't have room to put the palette in the picture. So starting on these two pieces here, I am the dots and the candlesticks. I'm going to make them all pink, and I'm starting off with their Quinacridone Magenta, which is a beautiful pink color. I love this color. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's super bright and vivid and hot pink, and it's not neon, but it's a real deep pink. I just think it's beautiful. Ooh, so I am going to add that down on here. And I do let these layers dry in between adding more color to them. I do cut all that out because I don't like leaving a ton of wait time, but now on this piece here that kind of looks like cheese right now, as well as those top little filigree parts that I'm going to layer on top of the cake, I am going to paint them yellow as well. I wasn't sure what color I was going to do at the start. That's why they didn't get painted along with the little flames. But we're starting again with that Hansa Yellow and putting that onto those. I'm letting it kind of fade out so it's darker around some edges and lighter in other spots. I didn't want it one solid piece of color, but I wanted it to have lots of color to it. It was super fun to pull out a die and use it as the focal point on my cards. If you guys have been following my YouTube channel here or over on my blog or anything for any period of time, you know I color. Like, I like to render images. I like to watercolor. I like to use my pencils. I love to use my Copics. I like to take all of those things and take stamp sets from different companies and turn them into cards. So it was really fun to pick up a die that inspired me to do something very similar. I tend not to do die focused cards a whole lot. They're kind of in the background, or, you know, a word or whatever, but they're never really the primary focus of the card. So it was fun to do that this time. I'm adding another layer onto the yellow here, and I'm mixing in, it's called Felsite. I do believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's more of an ochre type yellow. It's just going to give it a little bit more shadow and everything on the side. On our pink pieces, I'm adding in some, whoa, this is Perylene Maroon. I had to think for a second. It's one of the new colors that's coming from Stoneground as well. Again, I'm not sure if it's available on the website. I don't even think they've peaked it on their Instagram yet. I did get I shop with them quite regularly in store at Frame Masters Gallery in Regina, and they hook me up when they have new colors, and I got to purchase them a little bit earlier than the majority of people. So I'm super honored to be able to have that opportunity to get these colors and play with them before lots of people have them. And I like paint, so I'm greedy, and it makes me really happy. So I'm adding a little bit more of the silver there to the stand. And then that'll be it for the watercoloring. I set those aside to dry. And while I did that, I die cut the die again twice so that I can layer these up so that when we put it all back together at the end, the cake is actually going to stand out above the rest of the card. So I'm just taking my Tombow Monomulti and I'm gluing those two pieces of white cardstock together. And then I'm going to add the watercolor piece on top of it. And I'm going to show you guys me doing that with a couple of the pieces here, just so you kind of get a feel for it. But I'm not going to put you through the entire painstaking endeavor because, again, it took forever. I enjoy oh, sorry, I hit the table. That was probably really loud. I enjoy sitting and doing this kind of thing and spending hours coloring and building cards and kind of bringing what I'm seeing in my head to life, regardless of how long it's going to take me. Some people don't enjoy this, but I find it fun. I just don't want to leave it all in the video, so you guys have a 45-minute video to watch of me gluing all of these little pieces together, because it gets really tedious when we get into the flames and the candlesticks and the little spots that go inside of this piece of cake that currently looks like cheese. So we're hearing all of that together, and then I'll show you guys me starting to assemble this entire thing together. So what I'm doing is I have an A2 top folding card. So I took a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper and I cut it vertically at 4 1/4 and scored it at 5.5, which gave me a top folding card. Then I'm adhering that original watercolor piece that we had at the start down. And I'm going to take these pieces and put some Tombow monomotsai glue on the back of them and insert them back into the die cut. So it's all getting put back together, but you can see how it gives it that little bit of a shadow because those pieces layered together actually jump up higher than what the watercolor paper is. I found that I needed to stick just a little bit of glue underneath of there just to hold that one piece down because it was popping up a little too high. So adding the rest of those in hindsight, I probably would have put another layer of cardstock in behind these, but honestly, I'm happy I didn't. It would have given it a lot more dimension, but it would have been a whole nother layer of cardstock to glue in there. So now you can see how I'm doing the candlesticks. Instead of building them off, I'm actually going to build them right in to this panel. I do the same thing with the flames as well as filling in those little holes in that piece of cake. I put that one in backwards, so I had to pick it up and turn it around. So I insert the first layer here, and then I will put glue over top and put the second layer and then put glue again and add the tops of them on just like this. And I will do it the same way for all of them. I do believe I just show you guys the candlesticks here, and then I wait until I come back when the rest of it is put together. This takes a while. So I have all of these little pieces laid out all over to my desk, and then I'm gluing the, when I get to the point of gluing the flames into place, I lost 2 of them. So I had to pull out the die again and cut another one so that I had all of the pieces of the flame so that they popped up at the same height as everything else, because I'm anal retentive that way and decided that they had to match and I could not just leave 2 of them be shorter. So it's tough to keep track of all of your pieces and not lose anything and not misplace anything, especially when some of these are really, really tiny. So now I'm adding those pink candlesticks on top, and that is the process I'm going to do for all of the rest of it, for the flames, for those little polka dots, etc. It looks so good when it's done though, like it was worth every minute of it. So now you guys will see me come back here and I'll be all zoomed out and you can see how everything's filled in. And then I decided it needed something in the background, so I used the Cobalt Aquamarine, which is one of my favorite colors. I think I have it in every brand of paint I own, a color like this. And I'm starting by adding just a light wash of it in the background, just in various places. I didn't do the entire piece of watercolor paper. I didn't do it the entire way around. I left a lot of the natural color of the Arches watercolor paper show through. I don't know if I said that at the beginning. It's Arches 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. And then once this first layer dries, I come back and I add in a little bit more, a little bit darker of that same Cobalt Aquamarine and let that one dry, and that'll finish off the background. So I'm going to, while that dries, I'm going to add on the little cake pieces here that I had. So this is like the drippy icing, and I'm putting that on the bottom piece of cake. And then I have a little swirly piece that I put on the top piece of pink cake, just to add a little bit more detail to them, and they're adorable. So we glue this one on up top. I wasn't sure how well you could see that when I was filming, but it turned out all right. Awesome. I wasn't sure if it was going to like blend in and completely disappear and you're going to be like, what are you doing? But you can see it, so that's good. So I glue this one on, and then I just cut off the little tail ends that are sticking out over top just so it matches the size of the cake, because there's nowhere else that anything is hanging over messily like that. So then this is where we're coming back and I'm adding in some darker of that cobalt color, just to give it a little bit more differentiation and everything. So I blend it out a little bit with a little more water. And then I thought it looked a little too dark, so I come in with my rag and I dab a bunch of it off. and then we let it dry. Oh, nope, I'm blending it out a little bit more here. I'm not sure why I turned the camera off. That was odd. Anyway, so I dab it off and then we let it dry. So now I am pulling out, this is the Beach Bud stamp set, just so I can use that little happy birthday sentiment that's in it. And I'm actually going to use one of the scraps of paper that I cut the cake out of for my layering pieces in order to do that. And I had to stamp this twice because the first time I stamp it, you'll see I make a mess. It's fuzzy and it's like, I don't know, something shifted. It just didn't stamp very well. So I'm going to stamp it once and then I'm going to turn the paper over and stamp it again because I wasn't happy with the way it came out. But that's the bonus in using the scraps of paper because I don't really feel like I'm wasting much of anything because I'm probably not going to use that for anything afterwards. So we're turning it over and I'm going to stamp it on the other side here. And then I pull out my paper trimmer and I'm just going to cut it down to a little sliver. And once I place it on the card and figure out where I want it to be, we will cut that into a little tail flag type deal and glue it over top of that middle piece of cardstock that I glued all those tiny little pink holes into that you really don't see when I'm finished. That was my vent. I feel better now. I was going to initially put it up at the top and I didn't exactly love the way that looked, so it had to go down lower and that's kind of where it looked the best. To my eye was more in the middle of the card. So again, we glue that on with more liquid adhesive, that Tombow Mono Multi glue, and that'll be it. You can see me kind of futzing around here. I'm kind of deciding how I want to put it in, if I want to cut a banner on both sides, if I want to put it up top, etc. And I go right where I was at the beginning. But that is it for this card, you guys. So if you did enjoy the video, please give me a thumbs up. It helps the channel immensely. If you aren't subscribed, I'd love for you to come join me. All the links to my blog, Instagram, Cards and Color Facebook page, my email address, and all products used are in the description box below. And I will see you guys very soon in another video. Bye for now.